cork off. Oh, that's puke. Ugh.
Okay.
I don't know what to do. Maybe I'm just sensing some umami on this. Because, ooh, mama, that's good.
I still haven't found my first Blanton's.
How's it going? It's Thursday and it's Bourbcast time, and tonight we're going to be doing the Penelope. It's a 4 grain. Let's go ahead and get it poured. There's some things that I want to talk about. La, 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 la. All right, so a couple things in the industry. Let's leave the cork off. A couple things going on in the industry. Brown-Forman has changed their distribution model. Second largest distributor, Republic National Distributing Company, RNDC, has been shedding suppliers at an alarming rate, with another major national loss today. Brown-Forman has left RNDC behind in California. Whiskey Giant will now follow suit in other states. Company named new distributors for 13 markets, a transition that will involve 7 new distributor organizations. Company maintaining its current distributor network in the remaining markets where the RFP was conducted, the request for proposals. Robinson Brown IV, Senior Vice President and Managing Director of USA and Canada for Brown-Forman, said, "This is Brown-Forman's first significant change to our U.S. route to consumer landscape in more than 60 years. I don't know the fallout of this. Hopefully nothing will change. Hopefully they'll continue to do well. Hopefully the prices will go down. I'd love to see 1920 lower the price tag a little bit because of a better distribution model myself. Another thing that came out, consumers want more beverages delivered to their doorsteps, alcoholic and otherwise, according to a recent survey by food and beverage e-commerce delivery platform DoorDash. DoorDash allows customers to order delivery from local restaurants and retailers, and they surveyed more than 1,500 consumers between February 25th and March 3rd, with results shared. They say that respondents were 50% male, 50% female, with an average age of 40 and average household income of $81,000, and they say that a majority wants to see more beverages able to be delivered to homes. So we'll see. Hey Larry, how you doing? We'll see how that goes. DoorDash alcohol delivery is not available in my state, so we'll see how that goes. This is the Penelope Four Grain. Why is it named Penelope? Well, in 2018, Mike Palladini and his wife Carrie discovered that they were pregnant. They were going to have a little girl, and they wanted to name her Penelope. So just like what anybody else would do, they started their own bourbon company and named it Penelope. I mean, some people get tattoos, right? Some people buy a boat, and other people start a bourbon company. I'll be honest with you, I was content just having the kid. But, okay. I used to be what's the word I'm looking for? Accused of creating a business out of every hobby that I had. So I can only imagine Carrie looking at her husband and going, "Really? Really?" Turns out, despite the fact that it's almost completely sourced, as a matter of fact, it is completely sourced. It's MGP, with the possibility of a little bit of stuff coming from Bardstown. But generally it's MGP. As a matter of fact, MGP liked it so much, and they were already using their juice, so MGP bought Penelope from the founders of it, which would be Mike and his friend Danny Police, his neighbor. They did it together. So Penelope Bourbon is a signature 4-grain bourbon whiskey, uniquely blended from 3 bourbon mash bills, each barrel hand-selected and blended into a single batch for your enjoyment. It's only 80 proof. This particular one, with everything, all the combined mash bills and everything, rounds out to being 75% corn, 15% wheat, 7% rye, and 3% malted barley. It's kind of low on the barley, which, I don't know, we'll see how that goes. The barley is what brings you your nutty and your fruitiness. So we'll see what happens to that. The rye is a low rye, 7%. I'm curious about this. It was a 2-year when they first came out, and they were doing it for $40, and then it became a 4-year, and they didn't change their prices. As a matter of fact, in a lot of places, because MGP bought it, and now they don't have a middleman to deal with, they brought those prices down. In Ohio, what used to be an MSRP of $40 is now $29.99 for a 4-year. Again, blend of wheat and rye bourbon mash bills, aged separately before being blended and bottled. The charring is number 4 on the staves. It's the inside of the barrel, and then the heads on the ends. That's a number 2 char on the heads. MGP ingredients and Luxco purchased 100% of the equity of Penelope Bourbon. So the other thing about this is it's being marketed to the women and new drinkers and young drinkers. The name Penelope helps with that. The lower proof helps with that. And it's time to put it through its paces. So away we go. This is the Penelope Four Grain. Let's see what happens. Okay, it's got a really nice vanilla note, but it's also got a bit of a grassy note on the nose. A little bit of an astringency that could betray a youth in it, or it could betray a wider use of the heads and tails, probably the heads in the distillation, or in the distillation process. But as I play with it, it gets a little bit more sedate, and I actually got a little bit of a glue note. That's probably that same astringency. Yeah, that's off-putting. There was another one that the nose kind of was off-putting, and that was the Hard Truth gin. I do like a good gin. Hard Truth wasn't bad on the palate, but on the nose it smelled like sour milk. That's a terrible note, I know. All right. So I'm getting a little bit of a caramel and a little bit of a cinnamon. Still very grassy on the nose. And that glue note I'm having trouble getting past. Let me hit the reset button. If you didn't know that, if you smelled your own body, providing you haven't been mowing or something, it helps reset your nose, your scent, your ability, your olfactories. Just kind of helps reset it. Coffee grounds will do it as well. Something else that you can sniff and kind of reset things. But I needed a reset, so okay. All right, so yeah, I'm glad I did that, because now I'm getting a little bit of a fruit. That astringency is still there, the grassiness, but there was a little fruit there. I want to say apple, maybe. Whew. Okay, all right. Well, the nose is not bowling me over. I'm not finding a lot of enjoyment in nosing this one. I've had other Penelopes, and I didn't think they were so bad, but this one, being the 4 grain, I think it may be the only one, but I could be wrong. There could be another 4 grain in the series. I've had, I don't know, 2 or 3 different Penelopes, and this one is probably the one that I'm going to like the least. But let's get into it. That is really thin. The bloom is just now starting to hit me after I swallowed it. There was just a little bit of a heat on the end of my tongue. But I was really waiting for something to happen. Let's get into mouthfeel and viscosity. Very thin. Kind of watery. I mean, there's really not much I can add to that. It's just not an outstanding pour. And I didn't expect it to be, although there are some 80 proof pours that do a pretty good job. They do a pretty decent job of making me happy. We had the 86 proof Old Forester last night. I was having a meeting, and I had the benefit of being able to use some of my my newly acquired executive bourbon steward skills on this gentleman, because not only did I walk him through a tasting of the Old Forester 86, but I also started to think about something that we didn't talk about in class, and that is my responsibility to make sure that the people that I am ushering into the bourbon world are safe to leave where we are. We had 2 drinks. One was an ounce and a half of the 86 Old Forester, and then we had a Boulevardier, which has got Campari, it's got sweet vermouth, and it has about an ounce and a half of the Old Forester 86 in that. And as somebody who's a pretty accomplished bourbon drinker, it of course didn't affect me one bit, but it did my friend. And he and I continued to meet, and he seemed all right, but I could hear him slurring a few words. He's a craft brew drinker, and those normally have between 5 and 8% alcohol by volume. Meanwhile, I gave him something with 43% alcohol by volume, and it affected him. So my goal at that point was to keep him drinking water, and we sat there at the bar. So we got there about 7 o'clock, 7:30. We sat there till about 11 o'clock, and we stopped drinking by 8. So I wanted to make sure, maybe 8:30. So we just continued to meet and talk and drink water, and he got home safely, and I got home safely, and that's the goal, right? Is because you don't know everybody else's bourbon journey, and if you're out away from the house, you have to respect the fact that maybe the person that you're with doesn't have the same fortitude when it comes to holding their liquor. Now, that doesn't mean that I was any more legal. Yeah, I can hold my liquor, but 2 drinks may have been enough to have me blow into a breathalyzer and be illegal too. So it was good for me to sit around. It's good for him to sit around, especially since he's getting into this brand new, and it did affect him. So that's just part of the responsibility of being a good drinker in a public place. All right, I'm going to go back to this. Have to, right? That's what we're here to do. This is almost like drinking water. Ellen is with us. Hey, Ellen, how are you doing? I'm glad you're with us. This, now, like my friend last night, this probably would have presented a burn to him. It's 80 proof. For me, it's very, very mild, and I'm looking for something. Give me something, and it doesn't have much. But for him, he might have had a lot of flavor, and he would have probably had some burn because he's new at this. So, hey there, how are you? Oh, I'm doing well. My car's back on the road. And I'm drinking bourbon. Life is good. This bourbon, however, is not so much. I'm going to try to be fair to it. I try not to be a bourbon snob. I really do. I try to give everything its opportunity. And, I mean, I'm taking pretty large swigs, and I'm having trouble even getting much flavor out of this. There's some there, and I'll see if I can pull some out this time around. And I will add a couple of drops of water to it. I think it's going to kill it. I did bring some ice out. That's definitely going to kill it, but we'll try it. It's used ice. I'll be honest. I brought out used ice. I think I've probably used it twice before and put it back in, cleaned it off and put it back in its receptacle. But why use a brand new ice sphere for something like this? No. All right. Okay. Okay, right on the top of the tongue, right on the tip, it's grassy. 7% rye. They could have definitely added a little bit of rye to it. I think they went too far with the wheat. The wheat softens it, sweetens it. I'm not getting a lot of sweet. That's where a little bit of the malted barley might have helped out a little bit. I just feel like they left something out of this. They left some flavor on the table. This definitely could have used some more rye. Even if they blended it later, even if it was a young rye and an older corn, then blend it, it would have given it something more. So what I'm getting off of this, it's grassy on the front of the tongue. There's a little caramel in there, caramel if you have a degree. There's a little bit of cinnamon in it. It's very faint. You have to look for it. As I get into it and as the flavors start to approach me a little bit more, I don't hate it. But I have to get used to it because I'm so used to having things that have flavor and that leap out at me and that have some complexity. I'm not even catching any oak off of this, and it's a 4-year. And it said it's a number 4 char in the barrel and number 2 on the heads. There is like no color to this. Now, the char doesn't offer color. I get that. It's filtering, and the color comes from the barrel, and there's some other things that can cause that. But I'm just, how do they add flavors to bourbon? It comes from the barrel. The flavors for bourbon, well, there's the mash bill, and then there's the barrel. Those are the two places where flavor comes from. You can sense the flavor profile right off the distillate. Right, so you have your corn, your wheat, your rye, your malted barley, and it's gone through the distillation process, and now you've got your hearts there of the distillation, and you can stick your finger down in it and taste it, or put a little cup down in there, and it's perfectly safe, and it's probably going to be 100 and some proof, and you taste it, and you're going to have a flavor profile. It's going to be kind of nondescript. Because most of the flavor is going to come from the barrel. 90% of it's going to come from the barrel. Somewhere around in that amount. Depending on how long it's in the barrel. This is a 4-year, and it drinks like a 6 months. or a 50-year that has been in the barrel so long that it's lost everything. So, I don't know. Okay, one more. The sweetness of the corn is there. I got a little bit of a fruit note on that one, which, again, I wish it was more. Throw me a little more malted barley in there so I can have a little bit more. And the fruit notes also come from the barrel, so I'd be curious as to what kind of barrel they used. Different barrels created by different companies are going to provide different flavor profiles. And we talked about this in class. It's like, well, how does somebody choose? And they go to these different barrel companies and they're offered something written down that says this is what our barrels give, these barrels and these barrels and these barrels. Makes me wonder how long these barrels seasoned before they were used. There's so much that goes into it, and I don't know the answer to it, but I would say that this is not one of MGP's finest. No, not at all. So, all right. So let's add a little bit more to this. We'll throw some water on it. Just a couple drops. I'm not going to do much. This will probably be among my bottom 5 of 2025. This just isn't doing it for me. And I try to approach everything with an open mind and a desire to like something about it. Yeah, that's enough. That's probably one too many. All right. Little sploop. Let's take care of our little sploop. This is a fresh crack, so could it open up and do some things with some time? Maybe. Maybe not. Gentleman I was with last night, we had a couple sips of that Old Forester 86, and he looks at me and he goes, "Is it normal for bourbon to make you burp?" I said, "Or am I just like drinking a lot, taking in a lot of air?" I said, "I don't know the answer to that. I can tell you that when I drink bourbon, I get particularly burpy, and it's not like I'm like gulping large amounts of air. I don't think I'm gulping large amounts of bourbon, but because I don't sip very well." But he asked me. I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. I'm going to have to research that because I'm curious now that he's asked me, because I experienced that too. I get burpy, and he got burpy. So now neither one of us were uncouth about it. We didn't just in the middle of a bar with 30, 40 people around us. He just kind of, that's and then it's there. It's like, All right. Chris is watching. Hey, Chris. Chris, I'm not impressed with this one. Nope. So I just added water to it. We're doing the thingy thing, trying to get the water integrated. We'll see if it's any good. My goodness, that brought it to life. The viscosity improved greatly on simply 2 drops of water. It became a little more viscous. I'm not going to go so far as to call it buttery or silky or any of those names. I'm just going to say it got better. The mouthfeel got better. It felt like there was something in my mouth other than water. That's a plus. The flavors actually opened up too. Some of those fruit notes came through a little bit better. They didn't change. Some of that grassiness is still there. It didn't change. I wouldn't say the flavors of it changed. It just presented themselves more with a little water on it, which is a plus. It just needed to open up a little bit. I'm going to assume that if this sits just a little while, that it'll open up more and be a better pour without the need for water, or even if you add water later on, maybe it'll amplify it that much more. But this one's just a little disappointing. Excuse me. Just a little bit grassy still. Not as bad as it was. Fruit notes coming out. No spice. There's no spice here. 7% rye. What's the point? The sweetness of the wheat and the softness of the wheat is still there. As I said at the very beginning, they're marketing this to women who are entering the bourbon world, and they're marketing this to new drinkers and young drinkers, and they may have hit the mark with that particular audience of new drinkers and young drinkers who normally would take a sip of something like this and go, hey. This is very approachable for a new drinker. As a matter of fact, it's something that, strangely enough, despite the fact that it isn't very flavorful, it's a nice entry-level bourbon for somebody who's just getting started. You don't want to, these people online, well, what's a great bourbon to start with? And they say Wild Turkey 101. Are you out of your mind? Yes, it's a wonderful bourbon. Yes, it's low in cost, but it's 101 proof, and you got to turn them off. They've never had whiskey before, and you want to give them 101 proof? Are you crazy? You start with as low as you can possibly get, which in the bourbon world is 80 proof. And this actually, despite the fact that it's not very flavorful, is a worthy entry into that world for somebody who's just exploring bourbon for the first time. Could this go into a drink? Sure. Why not? You will get nothing out of it. What you will be getting is whatever else is in the drink. This will contribute almost nothing. I say that knowing that new drinkers and young drinkers and people just getting into it will probably detect it. And just like my friend last night, didn't take very much, and he was slurring while we were talking. So it is 40% alcohol by volume. If they're used to wine, if they're used to craft beers, yes, it's going to hit them. Alcohol is a chemical. It doesn't matter how much coffee you drink or how much water you drink or how much you eat. It will affect you in time. So is this a good pour for somebody new, even if it's in a cocktail? Yeah. Yes. Yes, it is. Is it tasty? No. And you can tell them that. Look, this is a great way to get your palate used to bourbon. It's not particularly flavorful, but it's a great way to get started. That doesn't have near the flavor of the 81 proof Wild Turkey, the 80 proof Evan Williams, the 80 proof Jim Beam. Nothing like that. The 80 proof Kentucky Tavern, which is a Buffalo Trace product and actually pretty good for its price. This doesn't have any of that. But the wheat in there, the wheat content is 15%, much higher than the rye and the barley. So the softness of this could also be quite appealing to new, young, and female drinkers who are just getting into this for the first time. So just some things to throw at you. Chris says, have not had any of the Penelope line. Have heard they are good, but not great. Some of the Penelope I've had has been good. This is not one of them. It's not horrible. Back early, I was used to drinking Bullet, which is I think at 95 proof, something like that. Angel's Envy, some of those. And I got into the 90 proof Old Ezra Brooks, 90 proof Ezra Brooks. They don't make it anymore. They don't bottle it anymore. But I remember when I first tried that and the Benchmark 8, and both of those I thought, oh, wow, these are watery. Well, in time and going back to them, I find some things about them that are more palatable, particularly for young drinkers and new drinkers. This one, it's a great experience as far as the amount of burn on the tongue, that bloom, the presence in the mouth. But as far as flavor, those other young or low proof pours have a lot over this one. I try to say something that I like about it, and there's not much in this one I like. All right. So again, this is a used gorgeous ice sphere. I wasn't going to put a good one on this. A brand new one on this. I'm going to save that little chunk down there. I'm going to munch on that. That's going to be an ice chewing thing. All right. I'm not going to go crazy here, because I think it's going to die. I think ice is where Penelope goes to die, but we're going to find out. I'm going to go ahead and cork it, because this is my last pour of this. I just don't love it. What was it? Was it last year or 2 years ago? I was so excited about Caribou Crossing, and it turned out to be my worst pour of the year. It's horrible. This isn't quite as horrible as Caribou Crossing, but it's not a whole lot better. Alcohol abuse. Spillage. I should get a little less zeal. A little less zealous. All right. Is it good but not great, Chris? No, it's not. Is it horrible? No. Caribou Crossing is worse. Just not good. This 80 proof 4 grain pour, just not good. Grassy. There's some chocolate in that. I just caught that for the first time. Some decent chocolate note on ice. And again, it's not even really all that cold yet. I'm trying to keep my finger out of it. I don't feel like doing a finger pour tonight. That chocolate note was actually kind of welcome. Normally that would come out of that malted barley as well, and it's just there's just not very much of that. The malted barley was 3%. 3%. The malted barley is where you have a lot of your chemical reaction. When you're breaking down those starches into sugars and those sugars into alcohol, particularly the starches into sugars, that malted barley is important. And 3%, they're missing out. I'm just saying they could do better. There's a lot of enzymes in malted barley. Yes, you can get enzymes elsewhere, and a lot of people do. Or they supplement the enzymes that they get from the malted barley to, again, convert those starches into sugars. There's all sorts of shortcuts, and they're not a bad thing. I mean, all sorts of different distillers do it. And it's not bad, it's just different, and they don't talk about it because, you know, the romance of the malted barley, but maybe that's what they did, because 3% malted barley, please. I'm just disappointed in that. Malted barley, I get it, it's expensive. Malted barley is probably the most expensive of all the grains. And the process of malting it is time consuming compared to just grinding up your corn and your rye and your barley or wheat or whatever and putting it in there. Chris is talking. The way you describe it, pouring it on your table might be better as a cleaner than to be a drink. It won't even be a very cleaner. I mean, it's 40% alcohol by volume. If I'm going to use a cleaner, I'm going to use Everclear, which is 190 proof. You know? What is that, 85%? Is that right? 85? 80? I don't you do the math. I don't math. Anyway, so it's 190 proof. That's what, 95% alcohol. I think that's right. I think I did that right. I can math. Not well. As a matter of fact, I bought some Everclear, and I was told when I bought it that I had to declare what I was going to use it for. So I told the guy that owns the store, I said, well, I'm going to use it to create some tinctures. He goes, some what? I said, some tinctures. He goes, no. I'm like, what do you mean no? You asked me what I'm going to use it for. He says, what are you going to use it for? Cleaning? I'm like, yes. I'm going to clean with it. Because COVID. So then he sold it to me. I have... Here's the funny part. I have yet to open it. It's probably been 4 years, and I have yet to open the 190 proof Everclear that I bought to make a tincture like I wanted to. But I've got it. And it's just sitting there. It's going to be fine if it doesn't eat the bottle first. All right. The chocolate note prevails, which I didn't catch before, and now that it's set there and it's gotten a little bit diluted in the ice, it's kind of like a Tootsie Roll chocolate, which isn't my favorite chocolate at all, but it's still there. It's milk chocolate-ish. If you see this one and you want to get somebody into bourbon and you want to get their palate ready for a better pour. This is under $30, $29.99. Get it. Let somebody taste it. Let somebody get used to the idea of bourbon on their tongue, and then move on to something that tastes a lot better. Or start them with that 81 proof Wild Turkey, or that 80 proof Jim Beam, or that 80 proof Evan Williams, or something along those lines that actually has decent flavor to start off with, and isn't very expensive and is very plentiful. Not a fan. Don't love it. I wish I did. I try to like as many of them as I can, but this is not one of them. All right, moving on. So there was a gentleman on Reddit that I was talking... Reddit? No, YouTube that I was talking to, who was talking about how much he loves Frey Ranch. The rye from Frey Ranch was one that I really enjoyed. The bourbon seemed a little grassy to me, but now I have a hold of the Frey Ranch. This is the Farmer Distiller Non-Chill Filtered Straight Bourbon Whiskey. This is a barrel strength single barrel. I've had this for a little while. This is 132 proof. 80 proof. 132 proof. Whew, baby. But the gentleman that I had talked to on YouTube had said how much he really enjoys Frey Ranch, so I just happen to have this one. I have not opened it yet, so this is the one we're doing next week. We're going to get into the Frey Ranch. And Chris is saying, yep, or making candles. Wink, wink. Makes a great apple pie, moonshine. 190 proof Everclear. Yeah, I have not gotten into any of that stuff. I could be interested in learning a little bit more, but I mean, what I bought it for is so I could create my own tinctures, and I want to do that. And the reason I wanted to do that is because some of the tinctures that were available from Old Forester were no longer available. It had something to do with the legal definition, and in fact, the salt and pepper tincture that Old Forester had to change their name to something else, and I forget what they call it now. But I thought, you know what? If I can't get that salt and pepper tincture, I'm gonna make my own. Not with this. I'm gonna make my own with that 190 Everclear. And I wanted to experiment with some different flavors, like cardamom and all these different things, just for different types of bitters and additives to cocktails, and I just never did it. And life is busy enough now that I just haven't been able to get to it. One of these days, when life settles down and slows down and I don't have anything else to do, yeah, I'll get back to it and I'll make some tinctures with it. And I will clean. I will clean with it. And maybe create a candle or a wink wink or apple pie, which, you know, I've tried the apple pie moonshine. Don't love it. Not my thing. Yeah. I get around people who like that sweet stuff, and I am not one of them. I'm just not a fan. Aaron, how are you doing? I'm glad you're watching. We're just about done. Again, next week is going to be the Frey Ranch. This is a single barrel proof from Frey Ranch. Really, that's about all that there is to this. They do a lot of different specialty releases, and this one in particular is just their normal bourbon. It looks like it's a 4 grain. Okay, so interesting contrast. But that one's 80 proof, and this one's an 132.20. Boy, baby, that's up there. That's up there. That's going to be one of the hottest ones we've ever tried on Beautiful Bourbon. So we just do this. Let's just put it on deck. All right. With that, thank you for watching. Thanks for hanging out with us. You could be doing anything else on a Thursday night, and you're here with me, and I am grateful for that. So thanks for joining. Next week, Frey Ranch is going to be a lot of fun. I look forward to it, and we will see you then. Take care.